family of the Prophet. The family of the Prophet. Who was Abbas? The uncle of the Prophet. Good Muslim? No, not particularly, not noteworthy, never heard of in the early situations, except retrospectively. Wasn't one of the chief players, but because of that, you could make propaganda for him in a way you could not for others. He had no enemies. He had no enemies, yet no one knew him particularly. He wasn't a significant figure, but his only significance was that he was the family of the Prophet. So therefore, you under that banner, you could politically cobble together quite a good alliance, which is what they did. And but it became more like an Eastern empire, more like a Persian dynasty. It really was a successor to the old Persian dynasties, which is why the capital was moved away from Damascus, further west, to Iraq, the old Persian capital in Ctesiphon, as I told you, which was now in ruins, the capital of the, what was called the Sassanid dynasty of Persians, to Baghdad, a small village that was beautified and turned into a mighty capital, often with a lot of stones from the old Persian capital of Ctesiphon. So, the Abbasids, therefore, were more of an Islamic caliphate. And they took the mantle as a successor to the Prophet quite seriously. They weren't just Arab chieftains, Arab kings. In other words, they felt, since they actually had been brought in by minority support, the banner was first raised. By the way, what color is the Abbasid banner? Do you know? Black. What color is the Ali banner? Green. You look at a person's colors, you some of those headdresses people wear around often from the Middle East. If it's green, you know that there's Alid sympathy there. If it's black, Abbasid sympathy, or things like that are very significant color-wise. Black for the Abbasids, green for the Alids. And you see on the Arab flag to this day, often there's a lot of stripes of different black or green. And that's what it represents, those colors. In any event, see, this is a very romantic history, very exciting, and now you see why these more modern people look back to this age as a kind of golden age to be restored. You know, the time when Islam was in the ascendancy, was flourishing, and so you see why you have people who hark back, want the new caliphate as they start talking about unify all the Muslim countries and so on. Stone-throwing youths in Paris suburbs, burning cars and things like that, not happy with Western life. The problem there is that there's going to be a huge reaction against them, and what they want to achieve is just not going to be achieved, and in fact it's going to hurt them and their communities more than it's going to move towards helping what they want to, what they think they want to do, and that's the problem of allowing young toughs, within the community, freedom to behave lawlessly and violently and in that manner, somewhat, from what one hears, encouraged by gangster rap French style. What happens is that the community itself, as we found out here in America in the 70s, suffers. It's Watts that gets burned down. It's their own businesses that get burned out. And the community doesn't really recover very easily from it. What the wise thing, what should be done, the wise thing is that elders, the people who have legitimate grievances, should have to control those elements, lest they bring disaster down upon everyone, and work together with the general authorities in a nonviolent Martin Luther King type way to move the situation forward in an intelligent, serious way. What happens in this kind of situation is actually you're going to get a right-wing government in France that's going to get very repressive, and a lot of people are going to be thrown out of France. So, I mean, what they want to achieve is just the opposite of what's going to be achieved. Anyway, I won't speak to that any further, but this harking back to the Caliphate is a dream. It maybe has substance. But you see, as soon as the Caliphate, the Abbasid one, which is the main one that they hark back to, they don't hark back to the Umayyad Caliphate. It's the Abbasid Caliphate, 500 years, 750 to 1250s. But how strong really was the Abbasid Caliphate? I told you last time. As soon as it was established, it was started to decompose. The Spanish part fell away within 5 years of its proclamation. The Aghlabids in Morocco were around 800. And in the 900s, the Fatimids, who were a Shiite caliphate, I'll talk to you about that in a moment, were already active in Tunis in the 930s. And that was disconnected. When they marched on Egypt in the 960s, Egypt was disconnected. It became even Shiite. So where was the Abbasid Caliphate? Within 100 years or 200 years of its founding, it had already just been reduced almost just to what we today call Iraq. And the pressure was not just from the West. The pressure was also from the East. In Iran, Persia, constant Iran-Persian nationalist uprisings were occurring almost as soon as the Abbasid Caliphate was formed. And these uprisings were all Shiite. For some reason, Shiism suited the temperament of the Persians even down to the present day. And these uprisings were all Persian. And one particularly successful group was around the 950s, further east than Baghdad, called the Buyids. And they actually, as I told you, were able to come in and take over the Abbasid Caliphate. But they didn't kill the caliph. They reduced him somewhat to a figurehead. They thought that the idea of the caliphate was a positive thing in terms of the impression it made on people. So they, like people sustain the monarchy in England or the papacy in Rome, they kept the figurehead, the idea of the caliphate going, but they were the actual temporal rulers. And they styled themselves things like amirs of the faithful. Amir in Arabic means commander. Amirs of the faithful. Think of it as Amir al-Mu'minin or something to that effect. Amirs of the faithful. And they also took names like Saif, meaning sword.